When someone hears that a person they're going to meet is religious, they often find themselves going, "Oops, I better watch what I say to Obi-Wan Kenobi." Or they sometimes find themselves saying, "I wonder if he believes the same stuff as me. Is this going to be a problem?" And sometimes, occasionally, someone might simply say, "Oh no," because they're worried. None of this is very helpful. Most religious people don't take themselves as seriously as mystics such as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And anyway, pretentious, annoying characters are not confined to religion. Miss Piggy, for example. So this video is about what we should mean when we use the word religious, and I suggest that we avoid definitions that cause prejudicial feelings of prejudice, to arise, and we can start by separating religion from superstition, meaning outdated folk beliefs. When someone says they're superstitious, people usually relax and think it's quaint, admire the furry dice hanging from the rear view mirror, and ask them about their star signs, horoscopes, and other magic. It's quite different from being religious. Or is it? Or was it 300 years ago? We could look back 300 years to the beliefs of the fishermen of Leven, Largo, and Wemyss. These are Scottish coastal settlements. For example, a Levenmouth fisherman would believe it was dangerous to put out to sea if he had touched iron that same morning. You see, metal doesn't float. Fishermen don't want to sink. Alright? Also, they wouldn't put out to sea if they'd seen a pig that same morning. There's a biblical story that they're drawing upon from Mark chapter 5, if you're interested. Such superstitions are long gone, and the insurance companies won't pay a fisherman for lost earnings who lost money because he saw a pig or picked up a metal spoon to eat his breakfast by mistake. 300 years ago, it was commonly believed that if you got a cold, then it had been done by an evil spirit, a curse, or by an enemy, or even a witch. Religions have, in the past, served as a foil or cover for witch trials, but it doesn't happen nowadays. Yet you can see the problem. If we say that all supernatural events are superstitious, what about special revelation, angels, and miracles? So religion and magic have had a long and troubled relationship. But for our course, I want to separate religions from the supernatural in this RME context. Hence the box and the "Hold Your Horses, Religious" title. It's certainly worthy of mention, but it's not helpful. If someone is superstitious, then let's use that word. And if there's too much superstition in religion...
Whoa there, hold your horses!
So, in our picture of religious, we're boxing off superstition. But for an obvious reason, we're going to let some magical breathing air holes. There's more to say about magical poetry, stories, and history at other times. We're exploring the idea of calling a person religious. So, in a previous video, I talked about how belief leads to action through values. And I'll cover this again from a different angle. Someone religious will act in a way to express modern values through their belief system. Okay, I've just thrown in modern values like everyone agrees what they all are. But I think there are lots of modern values which are common to us all, like human rights. In class, we hear the opposite of religion is secular. That means they think that their actions realize modern values through known facts and personal opinions. Here, it is plain to see there is nobody who is only religious and nobody who is only secular. We're going to have to resort to common sense, where people, religious and secular, are saying the same thing but in very different sounding ways. Which religious leader isn't concerned for the health and well-being of themselves and others? None. There is common ground, so we can be a bit less worried about someone being religious. I want to convince you with some everyday examples. Of course, you're free to find examples of religious and secular where human health and well-being are not valued. For example, in the West, Scotland's shameful drinking culture. And there are some religious communities which refuse to raise the standards of living by using modern medical science. But thankfully, both of these are declining. Most of the world is making progress, and the Scots are drinking less. But anyway, back to those everyday examples from beliefs. A Christian might say something like, I have a soul which is eternal. This is reinforced by hymns, prayers, music, and Bible readings. Usually, this will make a person feel better, happier, and more willing to be charitable. Result. On the other hand, an atheist might say something like, I believe in myself. The idea of the self as a projection or heroic construction, this idea gets reinforced by, guess what? TV dramas, makeup adverts, air guitar, and sport. The hoped for effect is self-esteem and self-worth. At the common sense level, there's little different about these two statements. And this is why schools up and down the country keep going on about teaching people to be confident individuals. Whether it be secular or religious, it doesn't matter, just as long as it's a healthy character, right? They could be wearing some prayer beads or a sweatband. It's all good. Similarly, a Jew might say life is a gift from God. And Louis Armstrong might sing, what a wonderful world. But the common sense of it is to express wonder at the fact of existence and to find ourselves fully present in it and able to respond to it. Hence, schools go on and on about responsible citizens. For 2,000 years, people have been trying to live the way Jesus would have wanted them to. The secular idea of simply making the world better can be traced back to 1516, when Thomas More suggested we could make a plan, even if God hadn't, to create a perfect world. He called this utopia. So whether you're an utopian agent of social change or a Jesus follower, you can both be, according to our beloved education system, you guessed it, effective contributors. So, to finish up, when you hear of someone who is religious, you need to realize that it doesn't often mean so very much most of the time. The values will be much the same as yours, but expressed in a different social language or code. Use the trusty old common sense concern for our health and well-being in order to interpret the social code, and you'll see that what sounds different often amounts to the same thing. And hopefully we'll all get on.